Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 9 o'clock. It's time for another video. And today I'm going to be doing a list. I love doing lists. I do so many lists on this channel. But today, this is probably the most important list that I've ever done. If you are new into Magic, or if you've been doing it for a couple of years and you want to become bigger in this industry, whether that be a creator, whether that be a performer, or whether that be you want to take your hobby more seriously, this is the video I wish I could have seen when I first started in Magic. Because today I'm going to talk to you about 8 things I wish I knew when I first started performing Magic. You see, when you get into Magic, you are going to be given a ton of advice. You're going to be told this, you're going to be told that, and a lot of the time, the advice conflicts. And one person will say one thing, one person will say the other, and that's because everybody's journey in Magic is different, just like everybody's journey in life is different. There's no right or wrong. One person might experience Magic in one way and go in one direction, whilst another person might go in a completely different direction. I have been in this industry for over 30 years. I have been performing, I have been creating, I have been a keen hobbyist. I remember doing my first show and almost passing out because I was ill. I remember chickening out from performing for so long because I didn't think I'd be able to do it. I've gone through highs and I've gone through lows in this industry, but one thing has maintained throughout all of that, and that is my love for Magic. Well, today, like I said, it's going to be a little bit personal. Like I said, I've been performing Magic for a long, long time now, and looking back, there are so many lessons I wish I'd learned earlier. Now, like I said, Magic is subjective. These lessons are lessons which I wish I had learned way back in the day, which I think would have skyrocketed my trajectory through Magic. But it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm correct. It's just this is the stuff that I think I wish I'd have learned way back in today. So in this video, I want to share with you 8 things I wish I knew when I started performing Magic. If you've just got into Magic, this could save you years and years of trial and error. This could save you so much time. And if you've been performing for a while, maybe this will resonate with you as well. I'm not too sure. So let's get into it. 8 points. Let's go into it right now. Okay, so the first one, this is going to be kind of weird, right? This is going to sound very, very strange. It's not about the tricks. What you're talking about, Craig, it's not about the tricks. Of course it is. It's Magic. Magic is all about the tricks. When I started, I thought the more complicated the trick, the better. Here's the thing, and this is the God's honest truth that took me a long time to understand. Audiences don't care how hard the trick is. They don't care if it's a knuckle buster or it's self-working. They care about how it makes them feel. Focus on presentation, not method. And you know what? When I first started in Magic, that's exactly what I didn't do. I didn't care about presentation, didn't think about presentation at all, didn't write down notes about what I was going to say, didn't script anything, didn't think about how to tell stories or how to connect with an audience. No, for me, the most important thing was learning as many knuckle-busting sleights as possible. For me, it was all about, right, okay, I've seen this trick, this is incredibly difficult, this is the trick that I'm going to learn. This is the trick right now. Everybody says this trick's impossible. Everybody says that this sleight is impossible. Right, I'm going to do it. I remember resonating towards magicians that would perform really knuckle-busting sleight of hand. Hell, I got into coin magic before I got into anything, and I learned so many knuckle-busting coin routines that honestly, I can still do to this day, but I don't think I've ever done in front of a real audience. Because here's the God's honest truth. When you're performing in front of a real audience, it doesn't matter if you're doing a back thumb palm double finger clip thing, or if you're just doing a very simple French drop. It makes no difference. From the audience's point of view, the coin has disappeared. And you know what? Nobody gives a crap. Nobody gives a crap about that coin disappearing, but they will give a crap about the coin disappearing if you make them care about it. You make them understand that that's the most amazing thing they've seen in their life. Now, that could be presentationally building up to that moment, so it's a big deal. It could be wrapping a story around it, whatever. But presentation is the most important thing. That is how you get an audience to care about what you're doing. doing. That is how you move on from being a trickster to actually being somebody who is a performer. So the first thing that I can say to you, the first thing I wish I'd learned for so many years ago is it's not about the tricks. Okay, kind of on the same subject, but not. The second thing I wish I'd learned years ago is practice and rehearsal are two completely different things. Let me break that down for you. Practice basically means learning the move. Rehearsal means performing the routine as if it's live. I used to practice slides endlessly, but never rehearse the performance. Big mistake. Huge mistake. Let's see if this resonates with anyone here. I would sit at home for hours and upon hours practicing moves. Or if I was learning a trick, I would practice the trick. I would sit there and I'd be like, right, okay, now I've got to do a double lift. Now I've got to do a pass. Now I've got to do this. Now I've got to do that. Now I've got the other. I would practice. I would practice over and over again. I would practice until I was blue in the face because I heard that proper preparation and planning prevents piss poor performance. The 7 P's. Proper preparation and planning prevents piss poor performance, which is right. But what I really learned, and honestly, I only actually learned this when I started performing on stage. In fact, it was performing on stage that taught me this lesson that then made me a better close-up magician. And I'll be honest with you, I became a better close-up magician when I learned this lesson performing on stage, which is, it's great learning the moves, it's great learning the trick, but you're never going to be in the environment that you are when you're practicing, when you're showing it to real people. You can sit cross-legged on your bed and go through the moves until you're blue in the face. But the first time you show that person to a real-world environment, you're not going to be sitting cross-legged on your face. You're going to have, you're not going to be sitting cross-legged on your bed. You're going to be there with people surrounding you. There's going to be a waitress coming through carrying drinks. There's going to be a million different distractions. There's going to be a million different distractions that are going to distract the person in front of you. You have to rehearse the routine as if it's live. You have to think, right, okay, where would I stand when I'm performing this trick? Where would the audience stand? If there's going to be more than a few people, where would I have them? At what point am I going to put this down? What if there's no table? Where am I going to put it? So I'm going to put it into someone's hand. When am I going to put it into that person's hand? How are they going to hold the hand out? What is going to happen? Where is this prop going to be? That's one of the most important things. The amount of times in the old days that I would need a prop and I would be like searching around on my body, not knowing where the prop is, because I practiced the trick, but I never rehearsed the trick. So because I practiced the trick, if I needed a prop or something, I didn't practice where that prop would be. I just had it sitting by the side of me. So when I actually needed it in a real world environment, I would be struggling, I would not know, I would look just clumsy and oafish, right? But when you actually rehearse the trick and you rehearse it and you go, right, okay, this is going to be here. So I can steal this at this point, or I'm going to put this in this pocket because that's going to allow me to do this. All of these things are so important. Understand, and this is a big one, that there is a huge difference between practice and rehearsal. Practice will get you so far, rehearsal will get you the rest of the way. Okay, number 3, and this is also a big one, less is more. I used to carry around with me as many tricks as I could jam in my pockets as possible. You don't need all of those tricks. Yeah, depth beats breadth every single time. Look, I've done videos on this channel of this is my close-up case. This is the close-up case that I take to my gig. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to take all of that shit that's in that bag and I'm going to put it in my pockets, because I'm not. I just like to have options. So when I turn up at the gig, I go, right, I'm going to take this deck and this pack of cards and this coin and this thing and that thing. I'm a little bit like Batman picking his weapons from the... Did I just compare myself to Batman? That's ridiculous. But you get the point I'm trying to say, right? I'm not actually taking everything in that case and putting it in my pockets. But here's the thing, in the old days, especially I remember when I first started doing restaurants, because my kind of... what's the word I'm looking for? My kind of journey into this industry is the first thing I did to really hone my skills was working lots and lots of restaurants. I was working market stalls, and then I transitioned from market stalls to restaurants. And I was doing a lot of restaurants, and I would jam as much stuff into my pockets as I could. I would walk around with bulging pockets, and then I had a high caliber, thing. It was called a high caliber holster. I think it came out many years ago. It was almost like a the sort of thing that you'd wear if you were holding a gun holster, like sort of thing, like you were the police, but it had places for packs of cards and places for coins and places for this. And I would still then jam my pockets full of shit. So I'd have loads of stuff under the jacket, loads of stuff in the jacket, loads of stuff in the pocket. I would take as much stuff as possible. And then I would never be able to find anything. I knew the trick I wanted to do. I want to do that packet trick. And I'd be there at a restaurant going, right, let me show you another trick. Oh, no, that's not the one. Nope, that's not the one either. Nope, that's not the one. And here's the thing, right? When I was doing that much magic and I was doing that many routines, it was kind of a little bit of jack of all trades and master of none. I could do that one 7 out of 10. I could do this one 6 out of 10. There wasn't really anything I could do 10 out of 10. And what I learned is I needed to focus initially on sort of maybe 10 routines or so. Now, I've said on this channel before that you shouldn't limit yourself. And I really do believe that. You shouldn't limit yourself. And I see people that go out and do the same 4 or 5 tricks every single time over and over again. And that's all they've been doing for 30 years. And I disagree with that completely and totally and utterly. Disagree with that. However, what I will say is when you first get into magic, especially when you first go out performing, you want to try and limit the amount of tricks that you're doing so you can focus on making sure that everything that you do is a 10 out of 10 as opposed to, I'd rather take 10 out of 10s than 50 5 out of 10s, if that makes sense. Now, you can add to that list of 10 out of 10s over time, but the way that you get a trick from a 5 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10 is doing that trick over and over and over again. And if you work in restaurants, you're going to see different people every single time. So you can do the same trick over and over again, and it's going to get better. And when it's got to a 10 out of 10, you can go, right, I'm going to put a pin in that. I'm going to get another one of those 5 out of 10s to 10 out of 10. But bottom line is, less is more. Don't do what I did. Don't jam your pockets full of crap. You don't need to do that. Okay, point number 4, and this is one that, again, I only really started learning properly when I became a stage magician, is you really should video yourself performing. I never used to video myself. And there's a couple of different reasons for that. The first reason is, back in the day, it wasn't as easy to video yourself as it is now. Back in my day, we didn't have little cameras on phones that you could take around with you that were any good. It was more of an effort. These days, there's no excuse. You can video yourself easily. But the other thing is, when I finally started videoing myself, I realized I was flashing moves. I had poor angles. And I was even nervous and I didn't notice. The camera is absolutely brutal, but it makes you better faster than anything else. So I think there's like 3 types of people when they practice or rehearse. The first type of person is somebody who just does it. They don't practice. And I'm talking, look, rehearsal's important. We've already discussed this, but practice is important as well. You want to make sure that the moves are correct. You want to make sure that you're doing them right. You don't want to be butchering something, right, ideally. So when you practice a move, some people will just practice and they go, yeah, that looks good. I think I've got that. When in actual fact, they haven't. So the more intelligent performers will do it in front of a mirror, which is great, but a mirror will only show you one point of view. Even those fancy fandangle mirrors will only show you a couple of views. If you set up a camera on a tripod and you perform to that camera, first of all, it's going to show you exactly what the move looks like. It's going to show you the weak points. It's going to show you the good points. Then, if you're really smart, you'll perform it again, but you'll set the camera up over there. So, right, if I'm performing over here and the camera's over here, that's the equivalent of somebody standing to my right. What's the angle like when I'm performing over there and somebody's looking over here? Right, okay, it's weak in that point. So I know I need to do a body turn over here at that point. Now you set the camera up over there and you do that from multiple different angles so you can see exactly what's good and exactly what's not so good, what's working, what's not working. I take this to the next level. Every single show that Ryland does, I film the show. We then sit down and we watch it and we look for problems within the show, because you can go and perform on stage and think you're absolutely amazing and everything's worked perfectly, whilst in reality, that's not actually the case. So yeah, that's more difficult to do in a close-up performance. Although these days you can get those fancy glasses that you can put on. You can get like little pen mics that will allow you to see the performance potentially. So that might be something to look for. But for sure, definitely you want to video yourself practicing the move, because it's going to be brutal. It's going to tell you where your angles are. It's going to tell you where things are looking good from. It's going to show you if you flash this move, if you flash that move, and that sort of information is gold. So number 4 is video yourself performing. Okay, point number 5 is know your audience, not just your magic. Early on, I performed the tricks I loved, not what suited the audience. Once I started tailoring material to the people in front of me, my reactions went through the roof. Remember, magic is about them, not you. It's why I have such an eclectic range of material, right? Because I never know the type of person I'm going to be performing to. If I get a vibe that the type of people I'm performing for would like to see more of a visual style of magic, that's what I'm going to show them. If I get a vibe that the people I'm performing for want to see more of a mentalism or more of a kind of a cerebral type of magic, I'm going to perform that as well. The perfect example over here in the UK is wedding. Wedding magic is very popular in the UK, right? It's very, very popular. The thing about wedding magic is that you tend to have a lot of kids following you around, right? And I know I've spoken to close-up magicians that don't know what to do about kids following them around at a wedding. They just try to ignore them. Let's just hope that they go away. It's so much better if you can tailor a trick to a kid. If there's a kid watching there and you can involve that kid in the performance and make it all about them, it's going to make you a much better performer. You really do need to know your audience, and when you can actually take this to the next level. And as you become more professional and as you start gigging, you can actually do custom created shows or custom created tricks or custom created performances specifically for the people you're performing for, or specifically for the event you're performing at. I've got an event next week. It's a Harry Potter style summer ball, and I will be performing there in not just as Harry Potter or anything, but I'm going to be doing Harry Potter style magic because that's what they asked me to do. Know your audience, not just your magic. It's so important. Okay, number six. Number 6 is reactions come from moments, not moves. Here's the thing that you really need to understand. People don't remember a double lift. They remember when their signed card appeared in their hand. It's the magical moment that matters, not the secret. So again, when I started performing, I would rattle through as many moves as I can. And my ambitious card was about 20 phases long, and it'd be like, look, it goes in the middle, it comes to the top, it goes in the middle, it comes in the top, it goes in the middle, it comes into the top. You want to savor every single move. You want to try and make a moment about every single phase in the trick. You really want to build that up so that it's not just a quick, simple sleight of hand trick, but it's actually a moment that will resonate with the audience and the spectator you're performing for. Which is why whenever you're performing, you want to, wherever possible, have the magic happen in the hands of the spectators, because that's how it becomes more personal. That's how it becomes more of a moment. Yeah, you can do a double lift and you can change a card, and if you change it and shake it and it turns around and it changes, that's one thing. But if you can put a card in their hand and it changes in their hand, even though that's probably simpler than a snap change or something, it will become infinitely more powerful because the magic's happened in the hands of the spectator. You need to create magical moments, and that sometimes means stripping back the trick you're doing, looking at it subjectively, looking at each individual section of that trick and thinking, right, how can I make a magical moment here? And again, this comes back to videoing as well. So you video the trick and you go, right, okay, what am I making moments about every single part of this trick? And sometimes a trick will need to get stripped back, and if it's a 12-phase routine, you bring it back to a 4-phase routine or a 5-phase routine or something like that. But honestly, it's really important that you understand that reactions come from moments and not moves. Okay, so when you start to maybe consider doing this professionally and want to make a living out of this next piece of advice is going to be absolutely gold for you. Number 7, networking beats advertising every single step of the way. Every single time, networking beats advertising. When I started, I wasted money on adverts that didn't work. I would go out and I'd put adverts here, I'd put adverts there, none of them worked, right? What really built my career, what really built my business was relationships with clients, with agents, and with other performers. Here's the biggest piece of advice I can give you. Shake hands, follow up, keep in touch, build relationships, get people to know you, get people to like you, get people to trust you, because that's where the real gig comes from. Some of my biggest clients that give me thousands and thousands of pounds worth of gigs have been have like come into my fold or become part of my business, not because they saw an advert on Facebook, not because they saw a PPC ad on Google. No, it's because I built a relationship with them over time. You go to that wedding, you meet that photographer could be a constant source of referrals for your business if you build up a relationship with the photographer. If you just take time to say hello to them, ask them about their business, share a business card with them, meet them on social media, speak to them on social media, shout them out on social media, maybe drop them an email and ask if they want to meet up for a coffee, share gigs with them. And they could be your biggest ally. And then all you have to do is do that again and again and again. Look, networking, I joined a 2 or 3 networking organizations when I first started in business. And I will openly tell you that that was one of the best things I ever did for my business, because it allowed me to basically have my own sales team that were going out and pitching me for me. And it was only when my business grew and became more of a national business that that didn't really work for me anymore. But for years, it did. But I'm not saying that you need to join a networking organization. What I mean is you have to just build relationships up. You need to build relationships up with everybody you meet at gigs and outside of gigs. I've got a friend who has just joined a golf club. A really high-end golf club, and he doesn't even play golf. He's joined the golf club because he thinks that there's going to be a lot of high rollers, there's going to be a lot of millionaires there, and he wants to be in a situation where he's on their level so he can network with them. It could be, like I say, you go to your next gig, speak to all of the people there. Get there early. Try and build a connection with the venue. Try and build a connection with the photographer. Try and build a connection with the catering company, with the DJ, with the other entertainers that are there. Have they been supplied by an agent? Is that agent on site? Can you speak to that agent? I work with agents that I've met on site at gigs that now give me a ton of work because I took time to build a relationship up with that agent. It's all about relationships. It's about relationship marketing. People know you. They get to know you. They get to like you, they get to trust you, they will give you gigs, they will share you with their client base, and it's giver's gain. I give people business, they're going to want to give me business. I spend time making sure that I'm giving work to those people. They want to spend time giving work back to me as well. But honestly, the single biggest thing that you can do to get more work than ever before when you first start in this business is build relationships. And also, don't judge a book by its cover. So one of my biggest clients came to me as a result of me building a connection up with a cleaner. How could a cleaner help me as a magician, right? But I built a relationship up with this cleaner. I told the cleaner all about my job, my business and what I did. I found out all about her business. I gave a couple of leads to her from people that I met, because that's the other thing. When you're running around and about, you're going to meet lots of business owners. You can connect those with other business owners. You can become like the go-to guy. So I'd sent a couple of leads her way. She then connected me with the person who ultimately gave me my biggest contract that I still have to this day. So never judge a book by its cover, and network. But remember, it's networking. It's not net eating. It's not net sleeping. It's networking. It only works if you work at it. Okay, and point number 8. And this is the one that I wish I knew. This is probably the most important piece of advice in this whole video. This is it. Number 8. Failure is part of the journey. I used to beat myself up if a trick went wrong or a gig didn't go perfectly. The truth is, mistakes are how you grow. Every bad gig I had made me a stronger performer today. Here's the thing, and this is really, really important for you guys to understand. It is absolutely fine to fail as long as you fail forwards. It is absolutely fine to mess up as long as you learn from that mess up. I meet magicians who don't take risks. Never take risks. They always play it safe. I've tried to take as many risks as I always possibly could. And the reason is, if you take a risk, then ultimately it might work out, it might not work out. You never know. It might work out, it might not work out. But I've always been the sort of person that wanted to look back and go, you know what? at least I tried, as opposed to being the person who looked back and went, oh, if only I had. So I'm always taking risks, and it means that I'm failing an awful lot. Right to this day, I've just tried something within my business which hasn't worked. I spent 2 or 3 months trying this strategy that I thought was going to work. It hasn't worked, and it's cost me thousands of pounds. But you know what? I went in thinking this is going to work. And here's the thing, when it comes to risk, right, I always ask myself a question before I even decide to take the risk on or not. What's the best possible outcome? What's the worst possible outcome? And if I can live with the worst possible outcome and the best possible outcome is desirable, I'm going to go for it. I've taken risks in the past which have paid off tenfold, 20-fold, a millionfold. But then I've also taken risks that have not worked out for me at all, like the one that I took recently, right? Look, here's the thing. You're going to take risks. You're going to mess up. Failure is part of the journey. But remember, don't go blaming other people. When things go wrong, when you have a bad gig, it's not the gig, it's you. Here's the thing. I'll tell you very, very briefly. When I first started doing gigs, when I first started doing stage shows, I died on my arse every single stage show I did. I was not good at stage. So I'd go to a stage show, I'd come back and I'd say to Sarah, oh, it's a terrible audience. And I'd say that 5 or 6 times. And remember, when Sarah turned around to me and she said, well, actually, Craig, have you considered it's not the audience, it's you? Because there's a common denominator here. You're always going out and sucking. And that's true. And I learned that, which is when you point a finger at somebody, there's 3 fingers pointing back at you, right? You have to take ownership for things that are going wrong within your business, within your performing career. You have to accept that it's your fault. Everything in your business is your fault. If you go out and you do an amazing show, everybody loves you, and they think it's the best show in the world, that's your fault. You did great, and that's on you. If it didn't go very well, if you died on your arse, that's your fault as well. And that's fine. That's good. But learn from it. Fail, but fail forward. Like I said at the very beginning, the truth is mistakes are how you grow. So there you go. 8 things I wish I knew when I started performing magic. Now, if you're new to magic, take this list seriously. It'll save you years of frustration. And if you've been performing for a while, I'd love to know, what's the one lesson you wish you knew when you started? Drop it in the comments, because it's going to help the newer magicians watching this too. Thanks again for tuning in. Do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, and also please don't forget that I run the Netrix, which is the my online streaming platform for magicians. It's called thenetrix.com. You can get access to it immediately, and it is amazing. It is awesome. It is wonderful. It is brilliant. I might be biased because I set the whole thing up, but we've got hundreds and hundreds of people in that community that love it. So if you'd like to join the Netrix, please do so. Outside of that, you have been watching the 8 things that I wish I knew when I first started in magic. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again. My name's Craig, and this is Magic TV.